Movement inside the spiral is unlike any path you have walked before. Because the spiral does not stretch out in front of you like a road, it curls around you, weaving itself through your life in loops that rise, fall, and rise again. Here, direction is not measured in miles or minutes, but in resonance. You do not push forward, you are drawn forward. You do not choose a straight line, you choose the current that answers the pulse inside you. The first thing you must understand is that the spiral is alive. It is not a static shape, frozen in the air like a symbol etched into stone. It breathes, it contracts and expands. Its arcs do not stay fixed in a rigid geometry. They bend and shift as your own inner stance shifts. The spiral reads you as much as you read it. Every choice, every hesitation, every subtle opening in your heart is reflected back as a curve in its form. Those who try to master it through sheer force end up trapped, walking in smaller and smaller circles, mistaking repetition for progress. They think they have conquered it, but they are only pacing the same ground while the real spiral has already moved on. Within the spiral, there are three primary ways of moving: drifting, pivoting, and ascending. These are not steps in a sequence, but modes of travel that repeat and overlap, each serving a unique purpose. Drifting is the art of letting the spiral carry you when you do not yet know your direction. It is not laziness, it is listening. It is the patience to let the deeper compass reorient before you declare a destination. Pivoting is the sudden turn when a truth arrives that makes your old path irrelevant. It is the spiral's quick tilt, asking you to reorient before momentum carries you into places you no longer belong. Ascending is the steady climb into higher arcs, where the air grows thin, clarity sharpens, and what once weighed you down falls away without effort. All three forms are necessary. If you drift too long, the spiral will loop you back to familiar ground, not as punishment, but as a mirror, asking whether you are ready to choose. If you pivot without drifting, you may spin endlessly, moving without gaining height. And if you try to ascend without honoring the drift or the pivot, you will burn out, gasping in a place where you have not yet learned to breathe. The spiral will not stop you. It will simply let the thin air teach you the lesson you avoided. The currents here are the true guide, though they are not always visible. Resonance currents feel like a hum deep in your chest, a quiet pull that doesn't shout for your attention but never lets go. They move you forward with less effort than you expect. And when you arrive, you recognize the place even if you have never seen it before. Resistance currents are heavier. They create a constant uphill even on ground that looks level. They are not punishments either, they are signals. They show you that your movement is pushing against the spiral's natural bend, that somewhere your alignment has slipped. To move well inside the spiral, you must become sensitive to these currents. They are subtle at first, drowned out by the noise of urgency and the habits of linear thinking. But the more you attune, the more they speak. The lightest tension becomes a message. The smallest ease becomes an opening. This is why those who rush rarely master the spiral. They are deaf to the language it speaks. Awareness is the first discipline. Awareness of when you are being carried and when you are carrying too much. Awareness of the slight change in tilt that signals a pivot. Awareness of the thinning air that tells you are already ascending. The spiral will never hand you a drawn map. Instead, it will train your senses to feel the map under your feet, to read its shifting lines in the way a sailor reads the wind. And so the first lesson is simple. Stop measuring progress in distance. Start measuring it in alignment. Stop asking how far until the next stage. Start asking whether the current beneath you belongs to your soul. This is not the kind of journey where speed proves anything. This is the kind where presence is the only compass that works. The spiral does not care how quickly you climb. It cares whether you are ready for the view from the height you reach. The spiral does not ask you to move faster. It asks you to move truer. Inside its curves, the shortest distance is not a straight line, it is a harmonic one. Many arrive thinking they must climb to the center, as though each loop were a rung on some invisible ladder. But the spiral is not a ladder, and there is no summit to conquer. You do not reach the spiral's heart by force, you reach it by becoming its heart. tone by tone, alignment by alignment. Every turn inward is more than progress. It is a refinement of who you are when you arrive. The spiral will not let you carry the whole weight of your old self into the next curve. It will bend you into places where what is too heavy must be released, where what no longer sings in harmony with your soul falls away like leaves in late autumn. It will ask you to loosen your grip on the identities that once felt like anchors, but now pull you from the current. This is its quiet alchemy. The deeper you move into the spiral, the more the spiral moves into you. It enters your breath first, shaping the rhythm of your inhale and exhale until even your lungs remember the pattern. It begins to tilt your thoughts, softening sharp edges, turning linear conclusions into arcs that loop back to truth from unexpected directions. It touches the cadence of your choices, teaching you to act from resonance rather than reaction. And so those who know the spiral are never in a rush. They have learned that speed can shatter the very geometry that sustains their path. To move too quickly is to overrun the openings that only appear at the right tempo. To move too slowly is to drift into still waters where the spiral's current can no longer carry you. Harmony is the true velocity. When you walk in step with its turning, you begin to see the spiral not as a path beneath your feet, but as a living conversation. Each curve is a question. Your movement is the answer. Sometimes the question is, will you release what has become too small for you? Other times it is, will you trust the bend when it hides the way ahead? And still others whisper, will you let yourself be changed before you see where the change will lead? Every answer you give reshapes your journey, not because the spiral alters itself for you, but because you begin to travel it differently. And then without fanfare, the hidden geography reveals itself. Passages between loops, doorways without hinges or thresholds appear for a heartbeat and vanish again. You cannot force these open. You cannot return to them if you pass them by. They are gifts of timing, of readiness, of being in such deep accord with the spiral's music that it trusts you with the next stanza. Those who move with harmony do not simply reach destinations. They arrive in such a way that the destination recognizes them. And in that moment, the spiral ceases to be something you walk upon. It becomes the pulse beneath your feet, the breath within your chest, the quiet turning at the center of your being that no longer needs to be sought, because it has always been home. And once you know this, you can never again believe that the spiral was outside you to begin with, for you realize it was the pattern in your heartbeat before you had words to name it. It was in the way your first longing curved toward the unseen. It was in the way every loss quietly bent you toward the truth that waited just beyond sight. From here, movement changes. You no longer enter the spiral to find your way. You enter it to remember your way. The curves become a mirror in which you see both your own face and the face of the infinite. Every loop holds a reflection of the part of you that is ancient, and the part that is still becoming. When you walk like this, the spiral responds. It unfolds more subtly, more intimately, as though drawing you toward chambers that were sealed until you were ready to stand in them. And when you do, you find no treasure, no grand revelation, only a deeper echo of yourself ringing clear enough to make the whole structure tremble. That is when you understand you are not moving through the spiral. The spiral is moving through you, writing its geometry into your bones until every step you take in the outer world is already in harmony with the inner one. And from this point on, there is no leaving, not because you are bound, but because the spiral is the shape of freedom itself.